Okay, let's talk about something we all do, something like 20,000 times a day, but almost never actually think about: breathing. And more specifically, what it really means when taking a simple breath just doesn't feel right. You know that feeling, right? That frustrating loop where you try to take a deep, calming breath, but it feels like you just can't. It's like you hit a wall halfway down. So you yawn or you let out a big, loud sigh, trying to force that full lung satisfaction, but nope, it never quite gets there. But what if that feeling has nothing to do with your lungs, or even just general stress? The source material for this explainer has a pretty surprising take. It suggests that this constant need for a deep breath is, and I'm quoting here, a sign that your spine and nervous system are asking for help.
All right, let's get into it. That constant, unexplained sigh isn't just a weird quirk. It turns out it tells a really fascinating story about a hidden battle happening inside your body.
See, it really comes down to two totally different ways of breathing. On one side, you've got calm belly breathing. This is your body in its rest and digest mode. It's deep, it's efficient, and it's all powered by that big, strong diaphragm muscle. On the other side, shallow chest breathing. This is your fight or flight mode, and it uses all these little backup muscles in your neck and shoulders. It's stressful, it's incomplete, and it's a huge sign that your body is on high alert. Okay, so if the diaphragm is the star player for good breathing, what or who is telling it what to do? This leads us to a really cool piece of anatomy, something that acts like a hidden power switch for your entire breathing system. Everybody meet the phrenic nerve. This is basically the main electrical cable that runs from your command center all the way down to your diaphragm. And here's the wild part. It doesn't start in your chest. It starts way up in your neck, coming right out from three specific vertebrae: C3, C4, and C5. And while all three of those vertebrae are involved, the source we're looking at points to one in particular as the main driver, the real power station for this nerve, and that's C4. So here's how it's supposed to work. It's a beautifully simple chain of command. Your brain says, hey, time to breathe. C4 cleanly relays that message. The phrenic nerve carries that signal all the way down, and boom, your diaphragm contracts, giving you a perfect deep breath. But what if there's a problem at step 2? What if that C4 relay station is jammed up or misaligned? It's like a kink in a garden hose. The signal gets weak, it gets distorted, and that full, satisfying breath never happens. So how in the world would you know if your C4 power switch is the real problem? Well, the source gives us a pretty clear checklist of signs to look for. You've got the obvious stuff, right? The shallow breathing, the constant sighing, but then there are these other clues, like a feeling of tightness in your chest, or finding these really tender spots in your neck and shoulders. The source even connects it to things like constantly clearing your throat or feeling a wave of anxiety that gets way worse when you feel breathless. Some people even wake up suddenly, gasping for air. So, does any of that start to sound a little familiar? We're so quick to blame everything on stress or just, bad posture, but the source material here suggests it could be something much more specific, something structural. This brings up two really important questions. One, what kinds of things cause this C4 issue in the first place? And two, what happens if you just ignore it? Well, the source points to a lot of habits from our modern lives. Think about office workers slouching over a desk all day, students with those super heavy backpacks, or parents who are always carrying a child on one hip. It also points to people who put a lot of strain on their neck and breath for a living, like musicians and singers. And of course, anyone who's ever had a whiplash injury is at a higher risk. And here's the kicker. According to the source, this isn't a problem that just stays put. It can actually get worse over time, in phases. In the first 5 years, you might just have nagging neck stiffness and tension headaches, but between years 5 and 15, in phase 2, the spinal joints themselves can start to degenerate, and your rib cage might not move as well. And after 15 years, the source warns there's a real risk of things like arthritis or even fusion in the spine, which can mess with that nerve flow for good. Okay, so what's the game plan? How do we go about unlocking a deeper, fuller breath? The source material we're looking at suggests a much bigger picture approach than you might think. For example, the source connects poor breathing directly to our hormones. If you're chronically stressed, your cortisol levels are sky high, and that can literally lock your body into that shallow fight or flight breathing pattern. The source even mentions a specific tool called a Dutch test, which it says can map out all these hormonal connections, from stress to sleep to inflammation, to give a more complete picture of what's going on.
It also outlines some ideas for nutritional support. Again, this is all from the source material. It talks about using things like magnesium to help relax muscle tension, or specific supplements to support healthy airways, and even others designed to calm down that whole fight or flight stress system. The idea is to tackle the problem from both the structural side and the chemical side.
So, after all that talk about vertebrae and nerves and hormones, what's the big takeaway? It's really this. Your breath isn't just this automatic thing that happens in the background. It's a constant conversation that's happening with your body. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. After everything we've talked about today, what is your breath trying to tell you?